Good afternoon, New York. Our story is very simple. Our discovery hole into this deposit was approximately 4 years ago, and we've managed to secure a 7 million ounce resource, of which 5.1 of it is in a pit shell under the reserve category. And I'll walk you through the story. It's in Ghana, West Africa. Our register, that's not a misprint. The shares on issue for an ASX company, 382 million. Normally you guys are accustomed to 3.8 billion out of an Australian company. So it's quite tight. And we've got money in the bank to see us through to deliver our feasibility study. And we've got options that will be exercised later on this year in September. Another 15 odd million dollars will be coming through. So we're not looking to raise any money to run the business for at least 12 months. The list of shareholders, as you can see there, all familiar names. You guys are all familiar with them. What's interesting to note is that aside from Goldfields, everybody else has been in the story before we even put out a maiden resource 2 years ago. And they've been following the story and buying on market and a few placements here and there. But Goldfields, to clarify the air, make it very simple, they started buying on the market 2 years ago, all their stock. They bought it through a broker in Sydney. Took them about 6 to 9 months to get that position, which is a vote of confidence in the project as of 2 years ago. Our coverage, as you can see here in the bottom corner there, our average is $1.08 per share. And one of the major sponsors of this event, Beacon Securities, who is a major sponsor, is also behind our stock. The shareholders by geographic location, as you can see, the North American market has been overtaken the Australian market as far as ownership's concerned. The last 6 to 9 months, they've been taking a bit of money off, let's just say, alternative investments, and they've been reinvesting slowly back into some real stories. Board and management, myself, Archie, Queen Cetus, and Malik Issa, founders of the company. Prior to listing, we had invested $2 million personally into Private Co to make sure that there was something there worth pursuing. So we do have skin in the game, and we have continued to participate in all forms of placements along with other shareholders and invitees. So our previous project in Ghana is now pouring gold under the brand of Asenco. We sold that in 2010. Bruce Lilford is our project manager. Kevin Tomlinson's our chairman. Banker Ken Thomas, I'd like to talk a little bit about Ken. He was employee number 3 for Barrick back in the day, semi-retired, and he's actually on our board as well. Michaeli, he's also a corporate lawyer in this space, and Trevor Schultz, who's with us today in the audience, he's former Anglo-Gold Ashanti, lived in Ghana for 6 years, built mines in West Africa, and his last project as a construction guy was the project in Egypt for Centamin. He built it up from the ground up. Where we are, we're located in the northern part of Ghana. What's important to note here is we've got well-established infrastructure. We've got national power, grid power, all year round, and continuous water supply all year round, and the sealed national highway. There's the highway there. It goes and feeds into Burkina Faso and the rest of West Africa. What I'd like to mention is the mining lease at the bottom, the last bullet point. We've got a mining lease that's been granted for 15 years. Our financial figures here are off our PFS, which was published in September of last year. At that time, we had 4.76 million ounces in reserve. And our study consultants, the tier 1 guys, globally recognised groups on the left-hand side there. But what I'd like to mention is our pit was designed at $1,100. Financial model was on $1,250, and the development costs were just over $400 million. We've got two We've got two components to this deposit. We've got a starter pit, which has circa 1 million ounces in it. That'll come up around $600 according to this study, and the life of mine closer to $800 for the entire life of mine, all in sustaining costs. Project paybacks circa 2 years, and the NPV and the IRR are there for your review. A little bit more detail here. The starter pit, according to this study, should produce 360 odd thousand ounces for approximately 2.5 years with a strip ratio of 0.5 to 1. And the life of mine is circa 300,000 ounces per annum with a strip ratio of 1.4 to 1 for approximately 14 years. I'd like to mention at this point in time, we're actually completing a feasibility study, which is due out in Q3 of this year. And we're further optimising because, as I mentioned from the outset, we've got 5.1 million ounces now in our optimisation study, and all of these numbers will be reviewed again, bearing in mind we're only chasing one thing, not ounces, we're chasing profit, okay? Which is a reason for that as well. Our after-tax IRR sensitivities and our NPV sensitivities. A little bit about the project. That's a long section. Broadly speaking, it's approximately 1,000 metres long, 400 metres deep, and 350 metres wide. Hence why the starter pit has a very low strip ratio as well. You can see that there. Just over to the west is where all the cutback, all the waste is. We have mineralisation down to approximately 700 metres, as you can see beneath the starter pit. So the geology continues. So does it have underground potential? Possibly, but we're not in a position to look into that at the moment because the market's the way they are. The return on every dollar you put into the drill isn't there, but we've managed to establish a good base load here to start with. This is an interesting one, our processing flow sheet. Yesterday in Australia we published an enhancement that we've discovered. It's in the market today here in North America. Basically, where that Arkan high vessel with a blue ring around it, I'd like to just talk to that very briefly. That there has been used by Randgold for the last 10 or so years in most of their production facilities, and we've been told by the manufacturer that it's being rolled out to some of their Barrick mines now post-merger. And what it basically does is it prepares the reground slurry before it goes into the leach circuit. It gets it ready, it cleans it up, oxidises it and drops it into the CIL circuit. How we benefit from that? Very simple. We get a few extra ounces potentially in recoveries, but more importantly, because it's prepared before it goes into the leach tanks, we save on chemicals, reagents, time in the leach tanks, which all have a positive impact on our operation or OPEX, operational expenses. Now, it's not just for the incremental ounces that we may pick up, it's across the whole production. So across the whole 350,000 ounces. So we believe that'll make a huge difference to our operational expenses, hence profit. That's where we are at the moment. Namdini's in the bottom right-hand corner there. That's where the production facility will be. We're testing some of the ground that we hold around there. It's fairly prospective. We're looking for high-grade, shallow feeder material that can be hauled into that production facility to blend into the mix and extend mine life. And if all goes well, we should be pouring gold in the second half of 2022. Thank you.